it, and so I think it's a good idea to explore these things, but I haven't seen any details as to what it would entail, so it's hard to comment much beyond that.
Is everyone available this evening?
Yes.
Alvin Gentry talked to his team about playing desperate. I believe you've done the same. Where do you see desperation show itself in the box score, and what do you look for to make sure your team has that spirit?
Well, I don't know if it necessarily shows up in the box score. It shows up on the film in terms of our defensive effort. We talk about starting a game with a defensive desperation, where you got to be flying around, you got to be trying to get 3 stops in a row early in the game to establish a tone. Nothing easy, making everything as difficult as possible for your opponent. And the NBA game it's such a long game that it's impossible to do that for 48 minutes. And if you have a great team like we've had the last 5 years, you can go long stretches without having that desperation, but at some point during the game you have to have that. I think for a team like ours that's trying to get a win, it's important for that to happen early in the game, to establish that we're gonna have a good defensive night, and we're gonna put up a stand right away and try to get some momentum early in the game.
I know you still have to see the details for these proposed schedule changes, but as a baseball fan, something like the wild card playoff is going to be kind of part of this, potentially.
Wait, say that again?
Part of like the wild card playoff in baseball, do you think something like that could translate to the NBA?
Like a 1-game playoff type thing?
Yeah, that seems to be one of the proposals.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a fan of the wild card in baseball, especially after they tweaked it so that I like the 1-game playoff, and something like that would definitely make things more interesting. So, like I said, I'm really open-minded to all this stuff, and I think the league is really looking into everything and exploring what we might do to make the regular season more interesting. So I'm all for it, but again, got to really see details before I can go into too much of an explanation as to what my view is.
Steve, one of the things they're talking about in this new proposal is a play-in for the 7th and 8th seeds in the conference. How does that sound to you?
Well, that sounds like the wild card that we just mentioned. So I think it would be exciting. 1-game playoff, or however it's formatted, it would be different, and it would be unique. But it's again, a broken record here. I don't know how they're talking about formatting it.
And do you think it would be a smart move to reduce the number of games from 82 to say 78 or 9? They're talking about that.
I do. I think it makes sense. And I've been a proponent of that. I know that everybody has to agree to what that means to revenue, and players and owners both have to, or all have to agree on that stuff. But yeah, I think 82's a lot of games, and even cutting out just a small handful, could be really meaningful during the season in terms of rest and practice time, and I think it would make some sense.
But even with the proposed 78-game schedule, that's not counting the games that would come into the tournament. So it's possible a team could go over 82. So they're really shortening the schedule here, I guess. I mean, have you seen enough to know that?
You're asking me to read the transcript. Nobody reads the transcript. People just keep saying, read the transcript.
So then they don't do it, I guess.
Sorry.
Couldn't resist.
I couldn't resist, sorry. I haven't read any details about any of this stuff, so it's hard to answer.
And one of the things you've been emphasizing lately is trying to get the pace up, keep the pace up. You got decent results with that in Portland the other night. How do you keep that going? Is it just by emphasizing it, or do you rely on your point guards, and how do you keep that going?
Well, we have certain things we're looking for and that we're keeping track of. And we talk to the team about during the game. So we're making a point of it constantly to really push the ball, made or missed. And then we have some numbers that we track too. And we found that when we do push the ball, we tend to be more successful offensively. So we'd like to continue that. Shouldn't be a problem tonight because they're gonna do the same thing.
And not to bring you back to all that, but one of the things they talked about was conference finals, that kind of reseeding. You've been to so many conference finals over the years, rematches against Houston, even back to your playing days. Do you think that is a good idea? Like going by, you might play an Eastern Conference team in the conference finals, then a West team in the NBA final.
I think that's interesting and has merit. I think if your goal is to get the best two teams in the finals, and it's pretty clear cut, then yeah, I'm not opposed to that.
Omari earlier was speaking pretty favorably about playing alongside Marquise Chris and Kai Bowman. I know Kai's not here anymore, but what did you see from that trio when you did have all of them up here and that helped kind of bolster that bench unit for you?
Well, Omari and Marquise are both really good offensive rebounders. They play pretty well together. Omari can pop out and make the three, and Marquise can dive, and they're both good players in terms of dribble handoffs, and they have a feel for passing the ball, sharing the ball with their teammates. Kai just brought a lot of energy every night, a lot of defensive pressure and picking up full court. And I think young guys in general kind of like playing together. They're all in a similar time in their career where they're trying to make it, and so they enjoy sharing the floor together. And those guys definitely had a nice little synergy. Kai will be back at some point, but I like what I've seen from all three guys.
Omari said that Kai's like picking up 94 feet and everything was pretty contagious. Did you see that kind of happen on the court?
Yeah, I think a backup point who can pick up full court is a really big deal. It changes the tempo, changes the pace of the game. And generally you don't ask your starting point guard to do that. It's pretty tiring. But if you have a backup who's coming in and playing limited minutes and he's getting up playing full court defense, it can be a real weapon and change the pace and flow of the game.
So you started Damian the last two games at the 2. Is that partly because you like what Alec brings off the bench, or what's the thought process behind that?
I like the spacing on the floor. Damian's one of our best shooters, and I like to reward guys for playing well. And I think he's been playing well, and that group has played well when he's out there. So that's the main reason. And it's nice bringing AB off the bench too, because he brings some punch to the game.
For obvious reasons, you guys haven't drafted better than 28th since 2012, and obviously you guys aren't thinking too much about the draft right now, but just in general terms, how much can a higher draft pick help when you're talking about preparing for the future and long term?
Depends who it is, I guess. But it definitely feels like it'll be a welcome addition to this team, whether it's a player or a trade or whatever. It's been a long time since I think Harrison Barnes was the last lottery pick here. So you need an infusion of young talent at some point, and it gets difficult to do when you've got a veteran team that's and you're picking late in the first round. We have done well. We have a lot of guys who have played very well despite being drafted lower, but I think it will be nice to have a high pick. But then, like I said, you got to do something with it. trying to put pressure on Bob here, I guess.
Yeah. Another one right here. He's got it.
Just curious, Jacob Evans, he's been back a few games now. It seems like he's been a lot more aggressive, kind of taking shots. Is that, have you guys hammered that in him? Like, be more aggressive offense?
Yeah, we want Jacob to be really aggressive. We want all our players to be aggressive, but especially coming back from injury and a guy like Jacob who had a really good camp and started out the season well. I think it's the best way to go is to come back and attack and try to get your rhythm back right away. And even if it means forcing a little bit, I don't mind that. So we're encouraging that, and I like what we've seen. He's doing a good job penetrating, trying to get to the rim.
Great, is that it?
Thanks.